Adversity, bring it. The struggle, I welcome it. Snooze on life, never that. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 203. As always, I'm in the booth with a new three. We have Claudio, the voice, Valenzuela. We have Glen, Bobos, Bernardi. And I am Dave, the body, Regina. Glen Bernardi is a passionate entrepreneur and co-owner of Bobo's Cafe, a family-run business that started in 2015 and has expanded to 5 locations. Born and raised in Somers, New York, Glen's journey has been shaped by both personal and professional challenges. Diagnosed with celiac disease at age 12, Glen has been mindful of his health from an early age, which has influenced his approach to business and leadership. Glen's career spans a variety of fields, from landscaping and retail to nightlife and hospitality, before settling into the restaurant industry. The experience from these diverse roles has shaped his ability to adapt, problem solve, and understand the intricacies of running a successful business. Alongside his brother, Glen has built Bobo's Cafe into a thriving brand with a strong sense of family and accountability at its core. Together, they prioritize their mental and physical health, understanding that personal well-being is key to the growth and success of their business. As Bobo's Cafe nears its 10th anniversary, Glen's drive to expand the business remains fueled by his passion for what he does and the supportive environment he's cultivated alongside his family. Glen, welcome to the podcast, my brother.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yes, sir. How'd that sound, man, when I read that? Whenever I read people's bios, they kind of sit back and they're like a little awkward, like, all right, you know.
You don't know where to look at first, but then, you know, it's nice to hear. It kind of puts things into perspective.
Very cool. So I live not too far from the Somers location of Bobo's, right?
Yes.
So you recently dropped, and I got to start here because, you know, it's not the most healthy thing that I ate the other day, but it was absolutely fire. You got to tell me about this new menu item, something with a cronut, right? A donut and is it a mix of a croissant or something? What did I eat? Talk to me.
It's a croissant donut. So it's a new product that we've had that we introduced a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Getting a lot of good feedback on it, and then we just kind of had the idea to throw an egg sandwich on it, and then, you know, we call it make it heavy, adding a cutlet to a sandwich. So for those that like to eat and, you know, enjoy a hearty sandwich. So that's what you had,
dude.
Yeah.
CV, look at CV's mouth. I mean, my boy is watering back there. So let me tell you.
My mouth is watering.
Let me tell you this, all right? And I know it's the holiday season, so you guys can mouth water as you're driving in the car, rocking on the treadmill, whatever it is. But this thing was a glazed donut with a bacon, egg, and cheese and a cutlet. And the cutlets that you guys have, listen, I'm a big cutlet guy, and I'm usually a fan of thin, Italian-style smashed.
Yeah.
Your cutlets are thick, but they're moist. The ones with the Mike's hot honey.
Yeah.
My girlfriend, Catherine, she dies for that Caesar salad. So if you guys have not checked out Bobo's Cafe, any of the locations, I highly recommend 2 specific items. All right, that we'll go a little healthy first. So it's the
salad,
the chicken Caesar salad, but with the
hot honey buffalo cutlet,
and then that cronut sandwich with the bacon, egg, and cheese and the cutlet.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode and got some value. Yo, man, you know what was crazy? And this is a little off topic, but what was it like? So there was a shooting not too long ago.
Yes.
And this was a very tragic thing that happened in the community. And the way Bobo's is set up, there's a housing development that's right behind you guys,
yes.
Right? Just trying to paint the picture for people. But I guess, was it a boyfriend of a mother the mother had 2 kids in the house, and I think the boyfriend ended up shooting and killing one of the children.
Yes.
It was all over the news, but I didn't realize that it was actually in your, right around your location until I came to Bobo's that same day and saw everything wired off and watched the news. What was it like being there?
That was it was pretty wild. You know, we didn't really know what to expect that day because there was reporters, cops, things were barred off. It was an eerie day. You know, because one of the things with Bobo is it's community, and that was, you know, right in our backyard, literally. And obviously, because we are in Westchester County, is a small county, everyone seems to know each other, and there were connections there where, you know, who knew the family or the siblings and stuff like that. They the kids attend Somers High School, so it's it was sad. It was sad to see because, you know, you forget the tragedies that could occur, and for it to be right there in our backyard was kind of like a little bit of a wake up call. So it was a tough day.
Yeah. Sorry to go there, you know, but
Yeah.
I just that just hit me because I
Yeah,
remember
no.
pulling up to Bobo's that day and being like, wow, this was exactly where it happened. But shout out to you guys for being a platform for the community to lean on. And even that day that I was there was still packed. And it was also sad, you know, because like you said, it was Somers High School, so I saw a lot of high school kids in there too, and I'm sure they knew what was going on.
Yeah.
But God bless the family, and you know, rest in peace to the individual.
Absolutely.
Where did it all begin for you, man? So obviously you grew up in Somers. We mentioned your brother as a you know, pivotal individual in the business, but also your father, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about, I guess, how it all began and your father's influence and hustle into your entrepreneurship.
Yep. So we've always been surrounded by the hospitality industry, starting from my grandfather, then to my father. They always been in some sort of food service type establishment, mainly delis, and that was my dad's bread and butter as he was coming up. And
Are these Jewish delis? Nice Jewish delis?
Yeah. Only the good half. And when we started, it's you know, I was working at a restaurant in Armonk. My brother was at the pizzeria, ironically 4 stores down from where Bobo's the original one is. And my dad always held meetings at it was a previous cafe, and we became very close with the owners, and we just said, hey, is this something you'd be interested in selling? And my dad, you know, looked at us, said, is this something you guys would want to do? Because we were, you know, we were working, but I wouldn't say either of us were in a career. And there was an opportunity for us to do something together, so we kind of jumped at it, and we just took to it. I mean, when we signed the lease, I remember my brother and I didn't even really drink coffee at the time, and this was a coffee shop. So my brother and I, we would wake up in the morning, check out different cafes in the area. We actually came to Stanford a lot. There was a lot of good spots around here as well, and we were just kind of getting a vibe for, you know, what other people were doing, you know, where there was a need for certain things that might be missed, and just kind of cultivated that into our own vibe, our own setting, menu, food, and it just kind of progressed over the years.
Very cool. Coming from a family of entrepreneurs like your grandfather and father, what were the habits like, you know, growing up? And you mentioned your father, I believe, man of discipline.
Yes.
You know, instructor at West Point. Is that accurate? Talk to me about that.
Yep. So he instructed at West Point for a little bit. He was big into the whole martial arts scene. That's kind of been a big part of his life for. It's still to this day. You know, he'll still practice. But that's it kind of just it sets the tone. You know, there were certain expectations when we were growing up, even in high school. If it wasn't, you know, sports and academics, then it's like, all right, you know, you need to have a job. You're not just gonna sit around and do nothing. So idle mind is the devil's workshop. So that was kind of always the mentality. So that's how we were raised. And then obviously the cafe took shape, and it was all hands on deck. It's funny because one of the other stores in the development we were at was vacant, and the landlords were nice enough to let us use that for storage for the time being. And we had 2 recliner chairs from my aunt's house that we had. They were comfy. They were nice. She was renovating or whatever. And it was 7 days a week. We worked every day, no breaks. Like I said, all hands on deck. And we would take turns just kind of trying to catch up on some sleep by going into that room, no AC, no nothing, but just on that recliner, taking naps. And then if there was like a rush, we'd come in, wake the other one up, like, yeah, I need help. Come on, let's go. Wake up.
That's
kind of how we operated for like 2 years.
Wow. So we have a large audience that spans, really countrywide, right? We have we're very dominant in the tri-state. But for those who don't know what Bobo's Cafe is, one, I guess, break us down on how you guys came up with the name Bobo's and just a brief overview of what Bobo's Cafe is.
Yep. So it was...
While I eat this chocolate almond bite directly. Is that? Can you see? Put in front of my eyes. We always try this on YouTube.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. So chocolate almond bites. Check them out, Bobo's Cafe. I'll snack on one.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
So it was named after our grandfather. His name was Paul. Everyone called him Bo, and Bobo. So that was kind of his nickname. It was a way for us to honor him. And as we were coming up with our identity, we wanted something for the T-shirts that were like a little different. And when Nike came out with their Bo Jackson line, Bo Knows. That was actually on his voicemail when people still had home phones and voicemails and people would leave messages. The end would say Bo Knows. So we used that for the front of the shirt. But as we started selling merch online, we kind of moved away from that because as much as we attribute that to our grandfather, it's, Bo Jackson.
Right.
And so, but we still use the Bo Knows slogan and in the business. And I love when if people see like an old T-shirt or something like that, they see that and they're already familiarized with it because of the Nike brand and stuff like that. Right. So it's that's where the name came from. But ultimately Bobo's Cafe, and we're an all-day cafe. We serve breakfast all day, lunch. We have acai bowls, avocado toast. We kind of cultivated the menu over time based off of what we want to eat, and obviously taking outside opinion of what people are looking for. But it was definitely a work in progress. And I would say like for a good 4 years, we were constantly switching stuff out, adjusting, trying to stay relevant with the times, food trends, stuff like that. And we still do that to this day, but I feel like now we do have our staple items. And, now we'll do things seasonally just to keep things fresh. We do have customers that we see quite frequently. So it's good for them to come in, see something new and, just stay, like I said, stay fresh.
I can tell you just from being a customer, and I've been going there for years now. I've been living in I live in Mohegan Lake.
Yep.
So, I'm close. But I've been going there for 5 years now. And I'm always intrigued. I was intrigued. I remember day one when I walked in. It was a fly spot, and it was but what I mean by that is just the decor. It was simple, but chic.
Yeah.
Wood paneling, really fly to walk into, and a really good vibe. And I noticed that you had a real community there, and you had individuals like we were talking off air, that span from really high school all the way up, into senior citizens.
Yep.
Who is responsible for the decor, in that aspect of the business? And then how do you just meet everybody's needs, right? It's not easy to do these days, to be able to focus on a span from, youth and high school all the way up to senior citizens.
Yeah. So I'll start with the decor. The decor, everyone's kind of has like a collective input, but that's probably where we argue the most on something like that. Everyone's got a different opinion. And me personally, I'll always resort back to my mom and ask her opinion on certain things. But that's where like me and my dad and brother will butt heads. Yeah. Well, actually, my brother will kind of like stay out of it. He'll let me and my dad go at it for a little bit. And then once that aggression starts we realize it's like, my brother might be the problem because he's not speaking up and, diffusing the situation. Yeah. But we use, I would say we use my mom as like a neutral party to say, hey, that looks terrible. You got to go this route. So
smart men.
Yeah. So that's where the decor will come into play.
Yeah.
Pinterest also plays a a nice resource for us.
What do you think about the No Snooze studio here?
I love it. That's why I noticed that that American wood flag. I mean, that's cool. That's right up our alley. I love
There you
that.
go.
So
He's trying to steal it, CV.
yeah, that's right.
CV's, put your microphone on real quick, CV. I'm gonna put you on blast. I see you're doing a little bit of this. Are you eating something back there, my brother?
No, not at all.
Oh, What were you eating, man?
I was eating.
Think he's got
I saw
the birthday cake.
What do you got,
energy
man?
vibes.
Shout him out.
Aren't you supposed to be in a podcast right now?
Yeah, I am on
What's
a
going
podcast, but talk to us. Give us a review. What do you got?
I had to taste this little trinket that you left behind me.
What do we got?
Protein
the,
bites. Protein bites.
The birthday cake bites. The protein.
Are they protein bites?
There's protein in those.
Oh,
ones.
okay, very cool.
Yeah.
It was delicious, man. It was very good. And
Yeah?
I said I wasn't gonna touch it, but you're over here chomping down. So how can I be rude to our guests
Yeah,
and
that's
not
right.
try?
You don't wanna be rude.
There you
so
go.
in efforts to not be rude, I tried it out and it was delicious. And I just had one, so I'm measured.
Okay.
And now I'm stopping.
How many are left?
3.
3. All right.
How many
we'll
were-
we'll
how
see
many were in
at the beginning of the episode. I think there was 5. I had one.
Five?
Yeah, it was 5.
I'm gonna go upstairs and throw it.
Thank you, my brother. Okay, so that's the decor. Talk to me about how you guys have built this community.
The community, that's kind of second nature for us. That's like I said, that's engraved in my grandfather, my father with the delis. We were kind of always around that. I saw how they interacted with people, how they handled situations, how they brought people in. That's my dad's real strong point is making everyone feel welcome. And my brother and I, we learned from that. And so when we were all in Heritage Hills was always known as an older community.
That's the Somers location?
That's the Somers location. That was our first location. Mm-hmm. We were there 4 years before we expanded. So it was 3 of us, all these big personalities in one store. And like I said, a coffee shop cafe. It's usually lower ticket items, so you see these people 3, 4, 5 times a week. So you start to really get to know people. You know their routines. Mm-hmm. You know what was going on in their personal lives, what jobs they hold, are they married, big occasions going on. So that's like I said, second nature because that's just our personality. We're gonna get to know who's coming in, and like I said, it's an older community, so. That was already there. And we definitely catered to that. We still do. We catered to that community as well. But my brother and I being the age we were at when we had first opened, my brother was 21, I was 25. We kind of brought that breath of fresh air into, I guess, cafes were pretty one-dimensional. It was either like maybe coffee and a scone. Then you had delis, which was not really the same vibe as a cafe. Cafe was more laid back, where you could sit down, hang out for a little bit. So I feel like we kind of like blended the two, because we do have we're very food heavy, but also we take pride in the coffee that we serve. And then the biggest draw that I would say that we started getting like the high school kids was the acai bowls. We had heard about it. We've seen them down in Florida, West Coast. And they were starting to become very popular in New Jersey by the beach towns. So when we kind of brought that up, it was kind of like what's this? And that kind of brought in a whole new wave of clientele, and it kind of merged the old with the new. And we've kind of just operated like that ever since. So just trying to keep that balance.
I just had a big aha moment, man. It all clicked for me. One, the way that you're describing it all, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But you guys are a perfect blend between a cafe and a deli.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, okay. And it's perfect, but it makes sense off of your experience. And then also, I think it's so unique that you guys were already in an older community, but then you and your brother coming in 21, 25 years old, it just made sense. And then you're doing your market research. The acai bowls obviously were huge. You guys have been doing that for years now.
We've been doing that for a long time.
Right.
And it's funny, every now and then we'll like scroll back on our Instagram and see where like we started, how we were serving it, and then what it's like come to today and how that's like shaped the business with anything else that we've done, and just like always trying to anticipatory thinking and staying ahead of the curve.
Wow. So I want to pick your brain a little bit, and I think this is just great for entrepreneurs that do work with family or really close friends. A lot of people will say, don't do business with your family, don't do business with your friends. What's your personal take on that? And obviously it's been a positive experience.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that and maybe the challenges that come along with that.
So the challenges that come with it, again, what makes us great, those big personalities working together, having the same vision, the same passion. Same face. Yeah. It's only gonna drive you in a positive way. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, you know, how I might want to do things might be different than how my brother or my father want to do things. And it's knowing, you know, where to, you know, everyone's role, what they're responsible for, and kind of playing to everyone's strengths. Because it's very easy to get lost in minimalistic things that don't matter, because maybe the decor, maybe this should be gray. I think that should be black. My brother thinks that should be white, where it could be, you know, something so minuscule that you're putting all this energy and intention into that really it's not worth butting heads, because again, we're Italian American family, and it's our arguing sometimes is our, you know, our love language. So it's just kind of differentiating between, you know, what everyone's roles are in the business and playing to those strengths. But we always joke around that we've opened up more locations just so we're not in the same building for too long to allow that to happen. Yeah. So we all have our different ways of doing things, but as long as our goal is the same and we have the same vision, then that's really that's what we try to focus on.
The only thing that I think that's all phenomenal, but the only thing I'll have to dispute is every time I go to Somers, you're both there. So how do you have time for all the other locations?
We usually, we talk to each other every day, obviously. We'll usually meet in one spot, kind of set the day up, who's going to go where, and then we disperse. Every now and then we'll get caught up with, you know, customers that come in or just each other talking, and then you get kind of comfortable, and it's very easy to just stay in one spot. But every now and then, you know, we'll kind of snap to. And
you know, one thing I want to point out about you guys too is, and it's ironic, I guess it's every time that I go in there, but you guys are constantly having meetings out in the open where everybody can see you. I think it's a great form of business. I think it may be a little hard to focus at times because everybody's like, hey, Glenn, Craig, what's going on? What's going on? But I think it's a very unique approach that you guys take. You guys sit right in the cafe, you have your coffee, and, you know, not that I ear hustle a little bit, but I can hear you're talking about, you know, business and strategy, which I think is just super dope. Is that is that on purpose? Because I'm sure you have other spaces in the back that you guys can meet.
Yes and no. We're currently building out an office for certain types of meetings, but if it's just, you know, one or two of us, we always like to be in the mix. We like to see the people coming in, and we want to know what's going on, have a pulse on the store. But at the same time, that leads for interruptions and things like that, which is okay. But I do, what you see is what you get.
Right.
So it aids to that. But at the same time, if some of those disagreements do come to, you know, then we kind of have to be mindful of how we talk to each other and our surroundings. 'Cause that's, you know.
Yep. Talk to me a little bit about holding each other accountable. I mean, this is a huge thing in not only a family-run business, but any business is obviously accountability. So what role does accountability play in the daily routines and, I guess, success of Bobo's Cafe?
So that's something that's actually been a big talking point for us as of late, because when we started, it was 4 stores. It was 1 store for 4 years. And then we expanded pretty rapidly, and everyone just started kind of doing a little bit of everything, and everyone's roles kind of got muddled a little bit, and it's, you know, who's supposed to be doing what? You were supposed to take care of this. No, I thought you said that. And it just it becomes a mess. So that's where I was saying, and you're working with family and friends. It's great because you share that same vision, you share that same passion. And I think that brings the best out of people. But at the same time, how do you hold those people accountable where you find yourself maybe tiptoeing around certain issues because you know you're going to see that person later for dinner or grabbing drinks, and it's finding that balance between the two. So I think for us, it's doubling down on what people's roles and responsibilities are and holding them to that standard, because it's going to be a lot easier for me to tell somebody, hey, why didn't this get done, if my message was clear. If my message wasn't clear and I'm not giving them a vision of what's expected and their responsibilities, then that's on me. And now how am I going to hold you accountable for something that I didn't set in stone? So for us, it's redefining the roles of what we are responsible for, and then having those checkpoints saying, hey, you said you were getting this done by this time. It wasn't. And just having a simple conversation. People think it has to be this like big thing. It's not. It's a conversation and being on the same page and just asking them, why this is what we expect, and following that, on a lesser scale, coming into work on time or showing up to a meeting on time. If we were supposed to meet at 9:00, you came in at 9:05. It's very easy for me to just let that go, because I don't want to have that awkward conversation about a 5-minute difference. But it's those minor attention to details that I think separates us and makes like a big difference, and that's what we're really trying to focus on.
Yeah, and I could tell, just based off of our interaction, how you are. When I saw you at the cafe the other day, you were like, hey, is it 9:30 recording time, or should I be there a little bit before, right? It's how you live your life. Yeah. Today, you texted me at 9:10, hey, I'm in the driveway.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a testament to a great leader. I pride myself in leadership, right? I consider myself an expert in leadership, but always learning and continuously serving. Yeah. But I will say that, this year was a little tough with that, because I have my routine and my leadership style set in my local government job as a deputy commissioner. But, building out ACE, I struggled with some of the things that you mentioned. I believed that providing less of a direction to certain individuals would allow for creativity and an approach that was basically not me or Sean Degnan, right? My partner as well, micromanaging anybody. And we ran into some issues with that, with certain individuals that were not happy. And they said, look, I'm being clear with you that you were not clear with the direction that you wanted me to, the role that you wanted me to play within the business. So that was a huge turning point for us, and also a learning opportunity. And it also just goes to show that leadership is ever changing. It's very unique, and I think modern leadership is different than, back in the day. And also, like for me, leadership in local government is much different than, my entrepreneurial journey. But for you, with landscaping, retail, nightlife, running, the restaurant business now, what would you say is the biggest takeaway that you've had in terms of leadership?
Biggest takeaway in terms of leadership, I would have to say, again, is just setting that clear message, because what makes sense in my brain and how I operate, I can't assume that someone else is on that same wavelength. And I've seen that through different versions of, for me, I love the whole creative aspect of business, marketing, stuff like that. And what makes sense in my brain might not make sense in somebody else's brain. And if I'm trying to use somebody as a channel to express that, whether it be, graphic design or like an ad campaign, social media, it doesn't always correspond. So again, I think it's just setting that clear message, because I have to be very, very precise in what I want and expect. Otherwise, I can't get upset with the outcome. I have to be as clear as possible so that these people know, whether it's, like I said, whether it is landscaping or retail, any business. And for me, on the opposite end, as not being a leader, I want to know what's expected of me. And that's, it just gives me a better understanding of how to operate.
I love it. Yeah, I always dive into leadership. It's something I'm, extremely passionate about. Do you do things to where you're always trying to learn in terms of leadership? Are you a reader? What do your habits look like, just in terms of, your personal leadership?
Reading, podcasts.
No snooze podcast, right?
No, obviously. Reading, podcasts. Those are the two main things, and that's where I've said with my brother, we'll hold each other accountable for certain things, and it's kind of like, it almost feels, having that extra person, it's just an extension of me. So if I'm listening to one thing, he's listening to something else. We're talking about it. We're constantly sharing ideas back and forth. So we're kind of, if one of us misses something, I feel like it's going to be picked up on his end, and I still get the benefits of that. But for me, I love reading, whether it's a book, whether it's newspaper articles, anything, anywhere I could get some information where it's going to provide me insight that I could then use in, my everyday life or business. That's my biggest thing. And then podcasts, just it keeps the brain moving. So,
are you looking to elevate your brand with captivating visuals and immersive sound? Look no further than the home of the No Snooze podcast, Kai Visions Productions, your go-to destination for cutting-edge audio and video production. At Kai Visions, we don't just create content, we create experiences that leave a lasting impact. From podcasts, YouTube variety shows, sleek corporate videos, to attention-grabbing promotional campaigns, our team of experts is dedicated to turning your vision into reality. Choose Kai Visions for a production experience like no other. It's time to make your brand known. Contact us today at kaivisions@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Kai Visions. Kai Visions Productions, where audio-visual excellence meets innovation. Now, back to the Epi. 12 years old, you were diagnosed with celiac disease, right?
yes.
How has that diagnosis influenced your approach to health? I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at age, sometimes I say it's 15, sometimes 16. I started struggling at 15.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly when I was diagnosed, but it was around 16 years old. And that was early. Celiac is something where I believe you have an allergy to like wheat. Is that accurate? So tell me about celiac disease, what it is, and how you started dealing with it at the age of 12.
Yep. So I did read about your Crohn's disease, and so I thought that would be a good talking point.
Yeah.
Celiac, age 12, it's an autoimmune disease. Your body can't process gluten or wheat, and what it ultimately does is it starts eating away at your small intestines and just opens the door to other potential health risks. Again, coming from my dad being in the delis
And being Italian, man. I'm like,
being
how'd you do
Italian,
that?
I'm 12 years old. I'm, king of the hill when it comes to lunches in middle school. I'm coming in with chicken cutlets. I'm coming in with Italian combos. I got, the Doritos. I got the ring dings, yodels, everything, living large. And then celiac, and my doctor, it says, it kind of had to do all that. Nobody knew what it was.
Right.
It's starting to gain some traction because the whole gluten-free, and I think there's a lot of disparity between celiac and gluten-free because some people will follow that just for like a diet choice. So there was a lot of research that needed to be done on our end of what exactly it was. So those chicken cutlet sandwiches turned to Cape Cod chips and rolled up cold cuts. So it was a big culture shock. And then, I just got very familiar with reading labels. And ironically enough, though, when I was diagnosed, I ended up gaining weight because anything that was gluten-free that I could get my hands on, I was eating. And I remember the Cape Cod chips at that time were like the big bags because my dad still had the delis. And I'm just like crushing a bag of chips. And my dad had to pull me aside. He goes, listen, just because it's gluten-free doesn't mean you need to eat the whole thing.
Dive into that a little bit for people, because I'm interested too. Like, obviously I have my understanding and my own personal experience with health and wellness for what works for me. But like when you hear people, it's almost like, I'll take a Big Mac with a Diet Coke. like talk to me a little bit about, I guess, explain to people.
That's the balance you talk about.
Yeah. Explain to people, I guess, what the, as Claudio takes his headphones off, he's like, I'm not listening to this nonsense. Oh, you took it off so you can tune in even more.
I can still hear you.
I like that, my brother. But maybe for someone who doesn't really understand how, I guess, the body processes, just because something is gluten-free doesn't make it healthy, correct?
No, and there's a whole misconception where, you'll slap a gluten-free label on Mike and Ike's, one of my favorite candies. Mike and Ike's are not healthy, they're just delicious. But it's not like, because it says gluten-free, and I feel like, people aren't dumb, these marketers, they know what they're doing. And by slapping these labels on certain products, it kind of tricks people into thinking that they're eating something that's a little bit more beneficial to them and their health, which is where it's the farthest thing from it.
Right.
So that, and again, constantly learning. There's new diet trends, there's new workout routines, there's always something new that's going to come out. So my diet and my journey for health is still developing. How I eat today is different than how I ate 2 years ago, and it'll probably be different 2 years from now. So it's the same question you asked about like reading and where do I try to tend to get information from. Constantly have to keep learning and searching for answers and new ways to do things, and you also need to just listen to your body and what works for you, because that's another big thing where certain health foods that I consider healthy, I'll eat, and I have trouble with just because my body doesn't digest that well, not because of celiac or anything like that. That's just me listening to my body, where it might be completely different for somebody else. So just have to be in tune with what's going on.
Yeah, you know what's interesting, and it's reminding me of this statistic that's out there, and it's along the lines of, don't quote me directly, but it's between 70 and 75% of Americans are actually lactose intolerant and don't even know it. But because we're raised the way that we're raised, here, have a bottle of milk from the age of 0, right? Yeah. This is just kind of the standard. Put your milk in the cereal and, all the dairy products and all that. So I know a lot of people struggle with gut health, right? When it comes to Crohn's disease, there's really, the only way to really diagnose it is to get a colonoscopy and an endoscopy, which is frustrating because you can put foods off, but then you can have a flare up, and you really can't see anything until you're getting into the 28 to 30 feet of intestines that you have. For somebody who struggles with their gut after they eat, whether it's having to go to the bathroom or just a sensitivity, where do you think they should start? And do you think that they should start to look at something like a gluten-free product?
For me, I think it's process of elimination. And the only way to do that, it's a little extreme, but it's cutting everything out and then slowly introducing stuff back.
Hard,
right? It's tough. Yeah. It's tough because, like I said, there's so many different diets, and somebody that might follow a carnivore diet and has great results is different than somebody that leads a more vegetarian diet. And hey, that works for them too. I think it just comes down to eating whole foods and staying away from the processed sugars and stuff like that. But again, everyone's going to come to that a little bit different. The only way for me personally is to wipe everything off the table and then slowly start introducing that stuff back and do your own research and take notes, see how you feel after certain things. I know people that will, test their blood sugar after eating certain foods. I mean, it all depends how serious you want to get about it, but just process of elimination.
I like talking to people like you more than I like talking to doctors who haven't experienced, like for me, right? I'll take it to me. My doctor does not have Crohn's disease. Great doctor, but I'd much rather take my own knowledge from my experience and what my body's feeling versus talking to him. He could study all the books in the world, but you haven't really felt what I feel. No disrespect to the medical field, but I'm picking your brain on it because you're somebody who's actually dealt with it. And I think that people who have experience, their own personal experience, sometimes it's even better than talking to a doctor. You know what I mean?
Someone that to your point, someone that kind of shed light on the situation for me is the guy that we get our gluten-free bread from. That's his passion. He's a chef, but he focuses primarily on these breads and these rolls. and he has Crohn's disease. And I was talking to him about celiac because he knows I love the rolls. They're delicious, by the way. I don't know if you've had the gluten-free roll.
I haven't tried. No.
Phenomenal. We have a lot of people that get them just because they're that good and has nothing to do with like allergy or diet or anything like that. But with him, I was having the conversation, and he doesn't take any medication. He doesn't do anything for his Crohn's disease, and he's been in remission. And he said the biggest thing for him is eating at home and knowing what's going into his food. Preparing his own food. And he's kind of self-medicated that way, and it works for him. I'm not recommending that by any means to anybody, but that works for him. And I think it just comes back to what we're putting in our bodies, what we're eating, and just being aware of it and just listening to your body. And I've kind of, I mean, all the credit goes to my wife because she cooks for us, I would say, almost every night. But we're very mindful of what ingredients we're using. And I think that's made a huge difference for me in the last 2 years as how my health has taken shape. So.
That reminds me, I did back in May, I did Whole30. Are you familiar with that diet?
Yeah.
It's basically just all whole foods.
Yeah.
But you can have olive oil. You can't have like vegetable oil.
Yep.
So I started going, instead of preparing my own food, because I know when I make my eggs, avocado, and tomato, I feel fine.
Yeah.
But when I started going to the deli, I realized like, oh, wow, like something is off. So I asked the guy, I said, what are you putting down?
Yeah,
like, what kind of oil is that? Like, I need olive oil. He was like, oh, it's $1 extra. I'm like, well, what is that? And he's like, it's vegetable oil. Right? So something like that where you're not like, can I have the vegetable oil, the eggs, the tomato, and you know what I mean? You're not thinking about that. But to that guy's point that has the Crohn's disease, that's exactly what he's talking about. So even if you're going to a restaurant and you're getting grilled chicken, you don't know what's, what the, what is that called? I guess the oil behind it or something like that.
Seed oils. That's like,
seed oils.
I feel like that's the new thing right now. And again, bringing it back to the cafe, I eat there 7 days a week. So that's something where my brother and I made the switch to all the stuff that we're cooking with is olive oil. The fryer is something completely separate. There's certain things you have to find that balance of what's practical and what's not. But the little changes that we can make, like cooking with olive oil instead of a canola oil, yes, we're paying a little bit of a premium, but I can't be a complete hypocrite if I'm, leading one lifestyle outside of the cafe and then I'm serving a different product. So we're trying to find that balance of, what we eat and what we're serving. And again, everything comes down to function of dollars. And that's why a lot of these places do what they do, whether it's, just no knowledge of the situation, which has been the main, I would say. My grandma's always cooked with canola oil. That just because that's what we were brought up on, vegetable oil. But now, as you're starting to learn that these things could be bad for you, then now people are looking at a price point, and now they might know it's not good for you, but the price point doesn't work for them, so they still don't make that switch. So little things we're trying to chip away at, and the olive oil, the seed oils is one of them.
Huge. Talk to me about balance a little bit, right? Running a growing business while staying physically and mentally healthy. What's your no snooze mentality on life when it comes to self-care and wellness?
Self-care and wellness. It's I forget where I heard the quote from, but it was just setting certain expectations for yourself. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you're supposed to wake up at a certain time, wake up at that time. If you were going to work out today, work out today. And holding yourself accountable in those little things, those little wins. For me personally, again, back for health and mental stability, I bought a cold plunge about 2 years ago. I've been doing cold showers for probably the last 7 years. And I made that step to making an expensive purchase, but for me, it was investing in myself. So starting my day a certain way, I have a whole routine.
What is it?
And this is where, coming back to the accountability thing, where my brother or certain other people within our business will get aggravated with me because I will show up late sometimes.
Because you're working out.
Because maybe I did hit the snooze button and now that extra 15, 20 minutes just throws me off for my routine. Now I'm rushing. Now I'm late because I still want to get my daily routine done in the morning because the day, there's so many different factors of how it could affect us. Nobody saw it.
I know nobody saw it on the podcast, but I just CV. We're gonna have to vacuum.
Hold
over
on,
here.
let's make sure we show everything what they.
Look, I'm having a little ball over here, but I kind of
dustbuster.
Yeah, we need a dustbuster,
Yeah.
CV. I messed us up. But get into the specifics as I eat this about your routine. I'm curious.
So, for me personally, and again, it goes with the cold therapy. Wim Hof is someone that. So this is where I had said if I miss information, my brother is going to pick it up. My brother and I were doing the cold showers for a while, and he saw Wim Hof on, I think it was like Gwyneth Paltrow's like The Goop or something like that. He's like this dude that they're talking about, the Iceman, and then just started looking into that, and I'm like, oh, so kind of took cold showers to then also breathing. So in the morning, I like to start off with breathing exercise. Then I'll do something where it's either, my big thing is Duolingo. I'm like really trying to learn Spanish for the love of God. Like it's like, but
Business
again,
purposes, right?
Business purposes, and it's something that I should have learned a long time ago. And sometimes like I'll miss it, and now all of a sudden I'm doom scrolling on Instagram. So breathing, whether it's, spending time on that app, learning something or reading something, I don't want to be on my phone and get caught up in stuff that I shouldn't be focused on when I'm starting my day. And then that'll then turn into stretching, ice bath. Then I got to warm up. I'll do that naturally, air squats, push-ups, stuff like that. And then I'm out the door. So for me, I know to get my routine going, it's going to take me an hour and a half. So if I snooze even 10, 15 minutes, I'm done. And now I'm late to a meeting, and now I have to be held accountable because of that. And it all starts because I didn't want to get up on time.
Right.
So that's kind of what my routine looks like now.
I love it.
And again, my routine today is different than what my routine was a year ago. It might be different, in a year from now. I might incorporate some stuff. I might take away some stuff. That's what works for me. And like I was saying, like I want to control the bookends of my day because I don't know what's going to happen throughout the day. But if I can control how my morning starts and how my day ends, that kind of keeps me in check.
I think I'm gonna steal that. Control the bookends.
Control the bookends.
I like that. Wow, very dope. Great routine too, and it's very different, from mine. Do you have children?
I don't.
You don't. God
No.
bless you. God bless you.
Yeah.
Enjoy that sleep for now, my brother.
Hopefully soon.
Yes, absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about your wife and the role that she plays, just behind the scenes, and shout her out, and just tell us, I guess, how you manage a relationship with your wife while you're working 6-7 days a week, right?
Yes. So my wife, Besmira, we met when we were 18. Obviously, we weren't together that whole period, but I've known her for a very long time. We got married 2 years ago, and she shares the same passion for life as I do. We align, and I think that's important. And one of her biggest contributions to us is the health aspect and the food we eat. If she's got a busy day going on and, there's things that kind of pull her away, I try and step up and fill that role for her, just to keep that, that balance going. But we, like I said, we share the same vision of what's important to us, and ideally it's health and happiness. That's and just gratitude for what we have. So like I said, if she wasn't there for me doing all these things and being with me all the steps of the way, and someone that I could lean on and count for support, it'd be a game changer. in the most negative sense. You know, she balances me out. I'm coming from a very like highly stimulated work environment, and to come home and to have that peace and relaxation is one of the most important things in the world. And that kind of just settles me down.
How do you, and I love everything you're saying about her. She sounds incredible. How do you shut that off? Right? That's a hard thing as an entrepreneur, is turning off and being able to, I was talking to a very high level individual, and he said one of his, if not the greatest skill that he has and he embodies is the ability to compartmentalize his life. Yeah. And not that he forgets, you know, about what goes on at work, but over the years, he's been able to have this level of success, which is a very high level of success, both personally and professionally. It's something I struggle with for sure, but something that I do find myself at times, even like I'll pull over before, you know, I have to pick up my daughter, right? Because I need to set my intention. And this happens like if I'm on a phone call that goes south and I'm kind of pissed off, I don't want to go grab my daughter, who's only 4 years old, to then, you know, have that energy reflected. And I've noticed it because she'll say to me, "Daddy, what's wrong? Are you mad at me?" And I'm like, "No, baby, I'm not mad at you. I had a tough day at work." And she's like, "Well, what happened?" And I don't want to be telling a 4-year-old, like, you know, my problems at work. Yeah. So how do you deal with that as an entrepreneur, a high level entrepreneur too, and then going home and, you know, being able to establish some level of peace? Because I also think it's very critical for your partners, right? For our partners as well. Like, they don't deserve the version of us that comes home angry and upset from problems that they did not cause. Yes. Talk to me about that.
So that's still something that
I love it. I'm working on it. Yeah.
I'm working on that. But every now and then she'll snap me out of it, where if I'm dwelling on something for too long, I either need to, you know, I have to decompress, whatever that might look like. Mm-hmm. Am I working out? Am I taking time for just, you know, sometimes just sitting in silence, having that. A lot of the times I've talked to people, I don't have a long commute. So for some people, that's the car ride home, just to kind of like just
that's me,
be in silence and have that moment before you bring all that baggage through the door. Mm-hmm. And she gets that. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, sometimes I do need to still be mentally on with the business, even though I'm home, mm-hmm. where I feel like sometimes that's where we'll struggle, where it's like, why are you dealing with that now? Because I have to. Mm-hmm. I have to deal with this now. But I have to set aside the time for myself to have that, to decompress and kind of get back to, you know, ground zero, and just, you know, not be argumentative or and be present. I have mm-hmm. to be present. So that's still something I'm working on. She keeps me in check with that. But it's definitely something that I don't think is talked about enough, especially if I'm coming home and she wants to catch up, and, you know, she wants to have a conversation and talk about her day or what's going on, but I'm already mentally checked out because I've been doing that for the last 10, 12 hours. So there has to be that balance there too, where it's, you know, she deserves my attention, mm-hmm. the best version of me, not, you know, the defeated, you know, leave me alone, you know, version coming through the door sometimes, where it's like, you know, and that comes back to what my routine is like. Am I keeping myself physically, mentally, you know, and emotionally available so I can, you know, have that conversation with her? And then maybe my nighttime routine is where I, you know, start to really wind down and just kind of,
close the bookend.
Exactly.
No, I love that. And I just want to acknowledge your understanding of, you know, a potential weakness that you're working on. I think it's very important for us to, you know in our lives and have a high level of awareness, you know, to things that we need to work on. And that's something I think a lot of people struggle with. But I also want to know what your superpower is, right? So I talked to my buddy, James McLeod, shout out that Vitiligo guy. And he constantly is talking about superpowers, right? And it's something that I've become really interested in because I want to learn from people and hear what it is that they're great at. And also, like, we're very quick to highlight our weaknesses, but some people, they struggle with highlighting their strengths. And I know that mine is the people who I work with personally and professionally, I have the ability to see a version of themselves that they can only wish to be, right? But I'm a visionary with that stuff, and I've been experiencing that now, with my executive leadership coaching program and working with individuals one-on-one, and I'm a constant constant inspiration to individuals. And also I think my level of discipline and consistency are something that I'll put up against anybody in the world.
Yep.
So to hear that from you after I boast about myself, I want to know, I want to know what your superpower is in life.
Yep. One thing that you just said, where you said discipline and consistency, which I also feel like gets lost, is people rely on motivation, where discipline is really the word that I think needs to be focused on. Because if you rely on being motivated, you're not always going to be motivated to do things. But if you're disciplined, you're going to force yourself to do it, and being comfortable in those situations, not doing things because you want to, but because you feel like you have to. So that's very important, that I feel like people kind of miss the mark on, where they feel like they need to be motivated. But as far as my superpower, just being able to get in the mix, no matter what it is, and we always say it at work. I'm not above anything, and if I see somebody within our company is struggling with something, or somebody needs help, I feel like they know that I'll be there to work right alongside them, and like, I got your back, you got my back, and we'll get through this. So I feel like that's where, me personally, that's my superpower.
I love that. And I challenge each and every one of you guys who are listening to this to identify your superpower and your strength. And also, like, employers out there that are looking for individuals. And I just, hired an individual for a maintenance position, right, on a full-time level. And one of the questions that I was constantly asking the applicants was, tell me something that you do great. And they were like, I was prepared for my weakness. And I'm like, no, tell me about yourself. I want to put you in a position to succeed, right? And I think employers, when they're looking for applicants, instead of like highlighting people's weaknesses, of course you want to know where they can improve. But I think it's even more important to find positions for individuals where they can succeed, right? So going into 2025, whether you are an employer, or you're looking for a position, I challenge you to become familiar and become comfortable speaking about your strengths. And that's something I don't hear often, and I definitely want to mention that. This episode is brought to you by Whitaker Garage Doors, your one-stop shop for all things garage doors, proudly based in Peekskill, New York. Your home is a direct reflection of your personal style, and let's face it, your garage doors are the first thing people see when they pull up your driveway. Whether you're looking for the timeless charm of a classic carriage house door or the clean, sleek look of a basic wood finish, Whitaker Garage Doors offers traditional options for every taste and budget. I can personally vouch for their incredible service. When I had my own garage doors done, I was blown away by their timeliness, professionalism, and overall respect for their clients. Jonathan, Cassara, and their entire team are top-notch, and they really go the extra mile to ensure you're happy with the final result. So if you're in the market for a new garage door or need some repairs, give them a call or find them on Instagram at Whitaker_doors. Don't forget to tell them you're a friend of Dave's over at the No Snooze podcast. Whitaker Doors. You won't regret it. Now, back to the epi.
Yep.
I want to tap into mindset and motivation a little bit. As someone who's been through, a lot of adversity from an early age, what advice do you have for people who are facing obstacles in their own lives and feeling stuck? This is a great time around the holiday season, but how do they break through that wall of negativity and just keep moving forward?
Compounding. It doesn't have to be, I think people get caught up in, the bigger picture where, it's good to have your eye on the prize, right? You should know what you're working towards, but people will kind of measure themselves up to where that is and feel like they're light years away from that, and they get discouraged and don't even start. So, I mean, I know it's, I'm not the first one to say this, but it's those little wins where, making your bed or, read instead of, going on social media, something. Compound those little wins, and over time, just you'll be on a completely different trajectory. So what might seem overwhelming, just take it day by day and just one foot in front of the other.
Waking up every day with a drive or a motivation, like we know, it just doesn't exist, and it's not easy. How do you personally stay motivated when things aren't going as planned and it's not always sunny and 70 degrees, right? Like, I remember that day of that shooting. It was a very eerie day.
Yes.
On a day like that, and not that we were involved by any means, but like there were outside circumstances in a community that we're close to, where things weren't going well. So on days like that, how do you get up and attack?
That's where you lean on the people around you. It's simple, you want those people. We operate our business it is a family business. We're all very much hands-on, and I feel like that energy trickles down, and I hope that they feel the same way, like they are family. Mm-hmm. And when things get tough and you do need to lean on somebody, even if it's for something small, you want to know that you have that support system there, that somebody's going to pull you through that. And that's what keeps me motivated. My brother and I will sometimes, it's funny if I'm discouraged, or if I'm talking with my father, and it's kind of, we'll all hit those different points in business where we feel like things are spiraling, and it just takes a couple words for them just to level me back out, where it's like, all right, just it's not a big deal, this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Let's not lose sight of it, and just we'll move past it. And just
I love that answer, and I love the answer because it's not something I typically hear. I didn't think you were going there, to be honest. I thought you were going to talk more about like discipline and that stuff. But I think being okay with leaning on, whether it's your wife or your partner, business partner, friend, somebody. There's very few people in this world that have nobody.
Yeah.
Right. I think the people who are lonely, we choose to be lonely at times, right?
Yes.
But you can very easily make a phone call if you're struggling. So I really like that advice, Glenn. I got to be honest, man. I haven't heard that when I've asked people that, but leaning on individuals is something that I think is super important.
I want friends when times are tough. It's great. It's easy to have friends when everything's going well. I want friends when times are tough, and I need them, and I would hope that's reciprocated. It's to treat others how you want to be treated. So I want to be looked at as that outlet for them, and vice versa. I think people lose sight of that sometimes, where it's like everything's going great, everyone's in a great mood, things are going well, everything's beautiful, but it's we all know that's not how life works. So
now you're making me, since I boasted before, you're making me think of another weakness of mine now. Something that you mentioned. I'm very close to my friends and my close circle, but not as close as I want to be, and it's because I'm busy, right? And busy could be a fluff word, but I pride myself on being very productive. And, there's so many times that I'm thinking about, my boys, my brothers, and I want to check in on them, but then something else happens. So you said, I want to treat people the way that you want to be treated. Whereas, I do agree with that for sure, but I don't necessarily care if they're checking in on me on a consistent basis like that. Like, I know that my true brothers are my brothers, and they'll always be there.
Yep.
Are you mindful of like checking in on the people that you're close to, and how do you do that?
I could be a lot better with that. But at the end of the day, if I know, it's, I don't want to say an emergency, but if someone just needs to vent, talk for 30 minutes because there's something really weighing down on them, I'm going to be there to listen. But like you said, you get caught up in the day-to-day. So, I don't always answer those calls or those text messages that, might seem like nothing, but I have to get better with that. Whether it's just checking in and saying, hey, I'll call you back. Give me a second. I got a lot going on today. Everything all right? Just with my family, with my wife, with everybody. You know, just being more attentive and not getting too caught up, because it's very easy for me to say I'm busy, but I'm terrible with my phone. Terrible with my phone with answering. If I know it's work, I'm answering.
Yep.
If it's something else that's outside of that, like that doesn't have my attention right now. And now, then I'll forget about it.
Right.
And now it's like 3 days. Like, oh damn, I never, you know.
And then you'll remember when you're going to take a pee at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Exactly.
You're like,
just
oh,
like
shit.
enters your brain. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I need to get better with that.
Yeah.
That's something I got to work on.
Struggles of an entrepreneur,
Yes.
my brother.
Yeah.
I feel you. Let's talk about entrepreneurship a little bit. And I guess what I want to know is, for somebody who is set on that entrepreneurial journey, right? What would your advice be to them on how to, take that leap and move forward and starting something individually or in a partnership? It's a tough thing to do these days, but also, like, I always say that I took the easier route to entrepreneurship because I always had a successful career where I knew that I was, getting my paycheck every 2 weeks or every week, whatever it may be. But entrepreneurship is really, really hard. So what would you tell somebody that's, looking to take that leap?
But I mean, to testament of you, I mean, you put yourself in that position to be able to do that. So it's not, I wouldn't say that's an easy route. You set yourself up for success to be able to go out there and, try something new. So
thank you, Bobo.
That's important. But for entrepreneurship, I feel like people think it's going to be easier. You dictate your own hours. I mean, yes, that comes in time. You get to set the standard, but it's really a dogfight. You're constantly working, and even when you're outside of the business, your mind's still going. You're still thinking about it, figuring out how to grow and get better day by day. It has to be a passion. It has to be a passion. If you don't have that passion, you're not gonna have that drive. For me personally, that might not be for everybody, but if I wasn't passionate about what I'm doing now, the food aspect, the community, I get the privilege of waking up and essentially hanging out. I mean, obviously that's, I'm downplaying that a little bit, but I'm in a fun environment, which is also very stressful. But I'm passionate about it. So I drive through that. And I want to see where we could take this. Not because of any financial gains or anything like that. I feel like we were given an opportunity. We spent years developing the brand, the culture. It's, it's here. And I feel like we have an opportunity now, and I want to see where we could take it, and that's my passion. And I want to do that also for the people that we have working for us. I want to create opportunities, and I want them to own that community lifestyle and engage with everybody and make a difference. But it's got to be a passion. Otherwise, I feel like to be balanced, you have to be off balance. You have to wake up at 5-6 o'clock. It's not, balance isn't a 9 to 5. You could still have balance, but it's not. I feel like people think it's going to be like a cookie cutter, like, oh, I need balance. No, I think you're just being lazy at this point, where people just, they make excuses for themselves. But that's where I feel like passion fuels that. Where it's like, all right, no, like I want this. Like let's figure it out.
Something just popped in my head. It's random, but within the scope of leadership. And your cafes, from what I've seen, you have a lot of young employees.
Yes.
Right. So you almost become like a mentor as well. Right.
Yeah.
What are the challenges? And well, my first question to you is: do you feel an obligation to the community? Because I think it's a beautiful thing if you do, to employ young high school, college working students, and then how do you manage them? right? So it's a twofold question. Yeah.
That's a great question. So the high school kids are always great because as much as I still think I am a kid and in high school, I'm not, and they make that very evident. But they bring that breath of fresh air, and it keeps everything going full circle. Because now, their friends are coming in, and we love training people that are gonna be with us for a couple of years, and so a lot and some of the kids that we have working for us, I mean, they really surprise you because I feel like there's a stigma of people's work ethic nowadays, but a lot of these young kids take on these roles and responsibilities, and you see how they handle situations, and it's refreshing to see, but leading towards the more full-time employees, we're still on the younger side. I think our youngest manager is 23 years old, and she's managing one of our busiest locations. And I look to see like where I was at 23 years old, and put things into perspective. But leading them again comes back to the opportunity. I want to be able to offer that opportunity that we can maybe carve out a different role in the business for them, something that they're passionate about, that we're going to get their best, their best version of themselves, and not just being, a counter person at a coffee shop. So it's, but then managing all these, making the food's easy, running, like figuring out the menu, all that stuff, that's easy. It's managing the people that's tough because you have different ages, different ethnicities, everyone's from a different walk of life, right. And it's managing all those people and making sure that they're working in a cohesive manner, treating each other with respect, because who doesn't get along with this one, right. Or I work harder than that person, and just kind of like nipping that in the butt, and making sure that everyone's on the same page. But it's tough. That's I would say that's where most of our attention has been recently. Yep. Is getting that. So,
thank you. So 10 years now, and all you've accomplished. How do you continue to stay hungry for more? Right, because a lot of people can get content. You guys are in a good spot from what it seems like. You got a lot of buzz around you. What's next for Bobo's? And on a personal question, do you guys see like franchising this out and really becoming, like larger than life with the brand?
Yeah. As of right now, what keeps us hungry is like I said, the opportunity. The opportunity is there, and I feel like it's selfish to kind of just say we're good. And again, it's not for financial gains and stuff like that. It's more of like a game in my mind, or a puzzle that I haven't figured out yet, and I don't know if I'll ever feel like I figured it out. But it's just trying to get to a point where it's not running itself, but it doesn't feel so chaotic. It's more systematic, and it's flowing, and that's the opportunity's there to open up more locations. We want to try and go that route. Will we franchise? I don't know. If we do get to a certain point, I don't know if that'll be my passion anymore. And maybe then it's, for somebody else to take over and see what they could do with it. So I don't know if when I get to that point, I don't know if that's my passion. Again, like I like being hands-on. I like being in the mix. Yep. When you get to that point, do I still have that opportunity to do that? I don't know. So as of right now, though, we want to keep going. We want to keep providing opportunities for our staff, integrate in the communities, and see where that takes us. Because it's opened up some great doors for us, and just the people that we've met, that we've met only through the business, but now we consider in our inner circle. So it's I love that aspect of the business. So that's what keeps us motivated and going.
Yeah, thank you for the honesty. Yep. Just curious, how many people do you guys employ? Right, like 5 locations now. What's the how many individuals are working for you guys?
Probably around like 100 people.
Wow.
Yeah,
100 lot of
people.
Impact.
Yeah, I would say maybe like 70 or full time, and then we have the part-time workers. But yeah, it's
bigger than I thought.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. I always like to give individuals that I interview an opportunity to speak on anything that maybe you had in mind that we did not cover, or if I'm just the best host in the world where I've covered everything. You could tell me that too.
No, I mean you hit all aspects. There's nothing in particularly that comes to my mind. This is impressive with the setup and the efficiency and everything you got going on here. This was awesome. This was cool to see.
Thank you, my brother. I love the conversation. I'm excited to continue to grow the relationship. Gotta tie you into what we're doing with Action Cultivates Excellence.
Absolutely.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of alignment between us, between the brands. So we'll talk more about maybe some plans for the future.
Of course.
But I want you to shout out all the locations and let people know where they can find you and Bobo's.
Yep. So,
and that's your camera right there. Yeah, there you go.
So we currently have the 5 locations. We're in Somers. That was our flagship. Chappaqua at the train station, Baldwin Place, Ridgefield, Connecticut, and Purchase. And hopefully we have a few more to come by the end of the year. So it'd be nice to talk upon that once it's signed and done.
By the end of 2024?
Yeah, so we'll see.
Whoa.
If not, maybe February. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see. But we do have some things in the works, and it's exciting.
What's the Instagram that people can follow you guys at?
Bobo's _cafe.
Do you have a personal one, or you want to just keep it there?
Just in that one. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for the conversation, my brother.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate
Thank you for
having me. And guys, we just want to wish you a happy holiday season. Whenever you listen to this, we wish you and your families the best. If you're struggling, just throw something like this on. This podcast is a platform to encourage, to inspire, to share regular stories with ordinary people. And you too have a story. So if you're in a chapter of your life where you're struggling, just know all you have to do is turn the page. So we're very grateful to you guys, whether you listen to 1 or 203 with my brother Glenn here. We just want to say thank you. As always, you can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Check out Bobo's Cafe. And until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Wow, I need some more of these balls, baby. Let's go. Hey, yo, that's the end of the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.